Hey guys, listen up.
This is the SEC Insider Hit, powered by Miss Kelly Furniture, Mississippi's number one sleep store.
Good morning. We're back in the BankPlus Studio. First time since Thursday. It's weird to do a remote on Monday. We do not do that often, but we had fun at the Golden Moon Casino, Sportsbook and Lounge, and Dancing Rabbit Golf Club and all that. But it throws me off, driving there on Sunday and then rolling out and doing the show from the book Monday morning. Usually our remotes are Tuesday through Friday, and most of them are backloaded towards, Wednesday through Friday. But had a great time. It was a good trip. And it just feels weird that I'm back for the first time in 4 days. So we are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by Miss Kelly Furniture and Miss Kelly Sleep Stores throughout the state of Mississippi. And the Purple Mattress, which I slept on last night, and it was fantastic. And if you're in the market for a new mattress, you want to go to any of the Miss Kelly Sleep Stores and try out the Purple Mattress or any of their name brands that they offer. The best of the best, powered by Miss Kelly Sleep Store. Want to welcome in Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN. Lugs joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. How's your week going, man?
Good. Just getting underway. I just got back from Dallas this past weekend. We had a middle school camp and our high school Under Armour All-America camp, and then we'll head to Houston this weekend for another one. And then I'm going to take one last little hiatus to go skiing one last time for the season before I start prep for my first week of UFL.
Okay, so where are you going skiing?
Going up to Stowe, Vermont.
Okay. Yeah. So you went to Vermont, and then you went to Colorado, and now you're going back to Vermont.
Yep, and that'll basically conclude my fun, and then it's going to be all work going forward.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're glad you're with us this morning. I had fun. Over the weekend. And yesterday I did about 15 minutes on my college football top 10 programs. And you and I went back and forth, and we're going to have some fun with this. I'm not sure there's any right answers, all subjective, but look, it's all about, as you know, Tom, you've been running recruiting for ESPN and doing your Under Armour thing, among many other things, evaluating thousands of players. It's all about first talent. And then, then we get into some other things. Now, NIL, can you flex your muscles? And also path of least resistance, although with the big two now, I think it'll be more difficult, but there's more spots to grab with the college football playoff. So Let's jump right into it. I'll give you mine after you go. Who do you have as your number one program?
My number one program right now would be the University of Georgia. I think that they have positioned themselves over the course of Kirby's tenure, because keep in mind too, and I was witness to this during the latter part of Mark Richt's tenure, entering into Kirby Smart's. When he first arrived there, it took about 2 years for him to really get the administration and the university to understand that what they thought was enough was nowhere near enough, meaning from the commitment of the university. And once he got that turned around from a resources perspective, facilities upgrade perspective, staffing perspective, and now, as you reference, the collective side of it, the NIL side of it, the attractiveness in the transfer portal, if they choose to go out and use it, which they rarely do, they check as many, if not more, boxes than anybody in college football right now.
I think that's a good one. I'm going LSU.
Really?
Here's why. They had three different coaches win titles in the 2000s.
Yep.
They, like Kirby, they start off with about 15 guys in their class from their home state, which is a tremendous advantage. And even though they don't have 11 million people in their state like Georgia, they can go toe-to-toe with Georgia, especially their first few dozen. And they're going to
They don't have a Power 5 competitor either.
Exactly. And there's just something in the water there that, other than Saban going in and poaching a little bit, Jimbo won a couple wars, but 99% of the time they're going to win. And all the schools wear purple and gold, all the high schools wear purple and gold, and their last name, their nickname is Tigers somehow, some way, which is amazing to me. So, they're all in. They are all in. So I go, and when Les Miles and Eddie O can win a championship there, it tells me, man, that place is special. It's a monster, Lugs. And so I'd be good with Georgia, but I'm going LSU.
All right.
All right.
So
Tom?
you want number two? You want number two?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So when we discussed this topic, and I asked you, I said of all time, and you said no, like right now, who's best positioned right now? Then I would probably say Texas is number two for me.
Ooh.
In terms of a program that I don't know if Sark did this or if this has just been a byproduct of them being able to win, so it's kind of alleviated some of their internal toxic issues. But if you really want to break it down into the most heavily resourced access to players, access to the ability to absolutely control the recruitment of the state and own the power amongst all college football programs, right now, given the current state of the program, I think Texas is right up there.
Okay, I like that. They're high on my list. And you're right, something has happened. I don't know exactly what. Maybe it is Sark or a combination of things. But now I can't wait to see if they can handle the – I know they went over to Bama and won last year and all that, but I can't wait to see if they can handle chunks of 3 and 4 games at a time and the physicality.
Totally agree.
And that's going to be fun to see with Texas and Oklahoma. My number 2 is Ohio State. Brand, money, 2 different coaches. Granted, their Tressel's amazing and Urban's amazing. They're not Les Miles and Eddie O. And I'm impressed because they still get prospects from their home state, as you well know. And then, but kids will jump on a plane from Miami or Dallas, Texas, and go to Ohio State and not just visit, but as you know, actually commit and sign. So my number 2 is and a little bit of path of least resistance. I know Oregon's coming in and so on, but the Big Ten will never be the SEC as far as star power and depth of athletes. So OSU 2. Who's your number 3?
So my number 3 actually is Ohio State. So I'm kind of with you on this one. And the reason why I put them there, and I actually thought about putting them at 4 for this one reason. You would be surprised to know this, but they actually have some sneaky, restrictive academic standards. And you wouldn't necessarily think that, but they do. And I don't think that internally they have just a blank check's the wrong phrase, but an open door policy of, hey, if the guy meets the absolute minimum standard, yeah, we'll get him in, we'll get him good to go. Ohio State doesn't have that luxury. And I think sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, and we've seen this impact Notre Dame, we've talked about this with Notre Dame for, 15, 20 years now. Sometimes that can limit your clout if you have restrictions that even though you may be resourced and branded as a program that could go out and get anybody, if there's somebody internally saying no, at times that can be problematic.
Yes. Okay. So they're a little restrictive, but nothing close to Notre Dame. Okay. All right. Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds show, driven by your next Ford F-150 truck at Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. Okay. My number 4 is Texas.
Oh.
Yep.
You're leaving out a big one.
Yeah. My number 4. I know which one you're thinking. I think. Yeah. So my number 4 is Texas because of what you hit on earlier. What about you?
My number 4 is Alabama, and it would probably be in the top 2 had they not, missed the college football playoff the last few cycles. Obviously, well, not obviously this past college football playoff cycle, but the previous 2. I still think that regardless of the departure of Nick Saban, he's not taking all of the support with him when he walks out of the door. They are so heavily resourced, and where they may be more resourced than anybody else in college football, even Georgia, even Ohio State, even Texas, is in manpower inside that building. So it's so difficult for things to slip through the cracks on them. So I'm going to put them at number 4.
Okay. All right. Did I mess this back and forth up? Because you're supposed to go first. So
that's okay. We can alternate. So I'll go now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 5. Okay, we ready? All right. At number 5, I'm going to go to LSU. And the only reason why I'm putting them there and not higher is while I feel like they can compete with anybody, no in-state Power 5 competition in the state, resource to compete with a Georgia and Alabama in conference. They have underwhelmed a little bit, particularly on defense. I think they've dropped off talent-wise in a way that's been a little bit surprising. So I put them at 5.
Okay. I got Bama. So.
Okay. I knew it was coming up sooner or later.
Yeah, and it's what you just said. And look, they're 2.5 hours away from us. We've lived this thing forever. And their commitment quotient I've always talked about is through the roof. And they have the most rabid fan base, in my opinion, in all of college football. Plus, you mentioned resources and so on. I tell you what, it blew me away this summer, Lugs. I went over and stayed the weekend at North River, which is right there in Tuscaloosa, beautiful area. And the $1 million homes in a rural area in the South, we jumped on a pontoon boat and drove around for a couple of days and just had a blast. I just, the homes in North River, it's amazing remarkable what has happened the last 25 years. All right, Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds Show, national college football analyst with ESPN. We're getting his top 10 college football programs. And, Lugs, you're up next.
All right. Now, this one might surprise you, but I think they finally have the right coach, Texas A&M. So when we talk about Texas A&M, we're talking about the school with the single largest endowment of any university in the country. All right? Everything is actually in place. And I think they've got the coach now to do it. And I also think he hired really, really well. I would be surprised if he doesn't do, and I'm not saying he'd do it this quickly, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't do what Sark's done in a 3-year span.
I couldn't agree more, and A&M's my next one, too.
Oh, look at you. Same reason?
Yep. They hired a grown-up, as you know, and you've talked about Elko with us for a few years now, both as an excellent DC and what he did at Duke. And you're right, they have all the resources in the world. I think he's going to win I would not be surprised if they have a really, really good year, especially if Connor Wigman stays healthy. Luke.
Totally agree. Yeah, he stays healthy, they're going to be I think they're going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. All right, what's your next one?
I'm Oregon, and because yeah, I know Oregon, because I never thought I would do this until what I've watched the last year or so. I knew Phil Knight's been committed for a long time, but he is committed in his last few years, and basically they're going to get whatever they want, NIL, as much jet fuel as they want to charter recruits in. And it's a great place to live, and it's not as much pressure. But Lanning seems to be a guy who gets it. I'm going to Oregon Ducks, Luke.
All right, so you going to Oregon, I'm going Michigan.
Okay.
And And I'm going to bring something up here because it affects the team that I have ranked lower and later, despite how phenomenal this particular team is that I'll get to their results have been on the field. The one thing that Michigan has is their alumni base is so vast. And with that comes a constant pouring of resources, almost never ending, right? And I think that they got over the hump of being able to beat, not just compete, but compete and beat the elites of college football. And now that they've gotten that off their back, I just don't see them slowing down. I think they're resourced and positioned to continue going. Now, I will say this. In the short term, they better find a quarterback. But overall, the health of the program and what they've done the last 5 years, that's where I put Michigan.
Okay. Yeah, Harbaugh was beyond remarkable and probably should have gotten more credit than he deserved. What he did turning around that program, it was stagnant, it was antiquated, and I don't think Lloyd Carr did anybody any favors post him stepping down. And there was two kind of Philip Fulmer meddling, and they've been able to overcome it. So Lugs has Michigan, I have Southern Cal, and I don't think Lincoln Riley is going to be the guy. However, when you're in the Los Angeles metro area, they're a private school, as you know, Lugs. They have plenty of money. When their alums do decide to get going, I thought they had the right athletic director. Evidently, he stubbed his toe or something off the outside of the building. But I thought he was trending the right way and getting serious about football. They can always get quarterbacks and wide receivers and so on. You and I have talked about the trenches, but I think they're a brand. Look, if Oregon can do it, Southern Cal can do it. So I've got Southern Cal at 8.
Okay, so I've got Oregon in that spot. And for all of the reasons that you mentioned, they are, and I know we've overly used this term, but it is so true because it covers such a vast area of what you need to get done. But they're resourced to overcome proximity. That's the thing. It's like they will, and their brand is so healthy from afar, meaning that a player from Georgia would love to take a trip at Oregon.
Yep.
Does a player from Georgia want to take a trip to Nebraska? Not necessarily. Okay, so I have Oregon sitting right there. Now my number 9 is USC as well, and I actually think that they have the correct athletic director now. That gal from Washington, legit.
Yes,
and
she did a great job.
And Lincoln, and Lincoln Riley better start producing because I don't care what he does on offense, how good of a coach he is on offense. They don't get better on defense. He's not going to be the coach at SC.
Right.
So they're in position. They've got what it takes. As you referenced, they're a private school. They can set their own academic standards to minimums if they want to. They have no trouble getting anybody into school. I got SC at 9.
Okay. Luginbill has SC at 9. I have this is where it got difficult for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I know they're.
I went back and forth between two teams here. I went back and forth between two teams at 10.
I'm in here. My 9 though is Florida State.
You're 9 Florida State. Okay.
Yeah, but and I know they're in turmoil, and I know they're going to leave the ACC and pay $250 million, and I don't know where that's going to go. But I think Norvell could have won the national championship this past year if he doesn't lose his quarterback. So they're FSU, and I'm putting them at number 9.
All right. You put them at number 9. I've got, and this is my back and forth at number 9. I went, at number 10, because I'm on 10 now. I went with Clemson. And the only reason, and this is who I was referencing when I talked about Michigan, Clemson has been able to accomplish phenomenal feats with a minuscule fan base compared to their competitors. When it comes to alumni, boosters, all of those sorts of things, it's a small percentage of what Ohio State or a Michigan or an Alabama or a Georgia is dealing with, meaning that locally they have to create a lot of their own opportunities. And I think that when you consider the university's commitment, they've been able to overcome some of those things because the university has, and we've talked about this before, has positioned them to succeed. I think that they're still in a position to succeed despite maybe not having the support from a national booster alumni base like some of these other programs have.
Fair enough. I went with Auburn, number 10. And here's why.
Okay.
I know they're a roller coaster, but they played.
But they're resourced.
Yes. Tuberville went undefeated and should have been able to play Southern Cal. Chiswick won it, and Malzahn played for it. That tells me all I need to know. And Hugh had a rough year and yet still landed the number 7 class in the country. They're committed, like you just said, Luke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're committed. So that's funny you say that because my 2 teams that I was going back and forth that I ended up leaving out, that easily could have been 9 or 10 or 10 or 9, whatever it is, was Auburn and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this in this conversation that we're having right now. If you took this one particular program, you picked it up, and you moved it right smack dab to any city you want to choose in the southeast portion of this country, and they might be number 1, who am I going to say?
Nebraska?
Yep. If you took everything Nebraska has, all of it, and removed it from Lincoln, let's just say you wanted to plop it in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'm just throwing something out there.
Sure.
Plop it right smack dab. They are a top 5 program, top 3 program every single year with the right coach.
Yeah. They're over the top crazy about it, and they'll never get it back. The ship has sailed,
hard.
as you know. So,
yeah.
But you're right. Good grief. All right. Well, I don't guess I had time for Caleb Cunningham. We've only got a minute left. So we can do that in a week or so, whenever you get back from Vermont. So
Sounds good, buddy.
Mississippi State and Ole Miss and others are, hard at it when it comes to the wide receiver.
Man. Great pass catcher.
Yeah.
Great pass catcher.
Choctaw County, Ackerman, Mississippi. Tom Luginbill, enjoy Houston and Vermont. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right, man. See ya.
He joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Bundle your car and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Want to say good morning, welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. We have Steve Robertson talking about Caleb Cunningham, and David Johnson from Ole Miss talking about Caleb Cunningham. And it's all on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. The SEC Insider Hit this morning was brought to you by Miskelly Furniture and any of the Miskelly sleep stores, where you can find the purple mattress or mattresses, one of them that I sleep on. Doesn't trap heat, the purple grid. Wendy and I, it's our favorite mattress that we have had. But they have other brands that are top-notch and amazing. All powered by Miskelly Sleep Stores. And if you need to upgrade, Jason, bar stools, recliners, or sectionals right before March Madness, then you want to go to Miskelly Furniture. Mike Detillier at 8:30.